Welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. This is another Sunday update video. I also post silent build videos on most Wednesdays and Fridays, so be sure to check those out as well. Today we're going to talk about the Land Cruiser, the Model T, and then we'll touch on a few other projects as well. So, the Land Cruiser. If you watched my last build video, you would have seen that I've been working on this rear section, this tailgate area. It's coming along quite well. I cut out this section. I took out the structural support from behind and I've replaced that. And then I've got this new piece here. And then I test fit the tailgate and the wheel carrier. So everything seems to be lining up pretty good. Some panels are overlapping the existing metal, and so they're not exactly in line yet where they should be. So once I remove them again, I can trim that old metal back, and then I can start doing the final fitment and start tack welding everything in place. But so far I'm pretty happy with the way that it's coming out. This panel, I bought this on eBay, and it was pretty cheap. I don't know if it was that much cheaper than getting it from like Cool Cruisers, but the main thing was the shipping was a lot less. I almost bought a lot of these panels from Cool Cruisers because they seem to have the best quality, or at least good quality panels. But the shipping was going to be like $300 or something really expensive. So that's when I started trying to scale back to doing fewer panels, and then ultimately I bought them from a few different places. But so I got these from Cool Cruisers. I'm happy with those. This outer quarter panel, it's okay. I'm going to be able to make it work. But this whole area is pretty bad. The curvature isn't right. The shape of this wasn't right. So I'm going to have to redo that to make it actually match the way that it's supposed to be. But overall, I mean, you know, the main area is okay. Also, I think I mentioned this before, but this area, the shape is pretty ugly. I mean, on the other side, there's a nice gentle round curve, and this thing is like all jagged. It's really awful. So I'm gonna have to build that up with a weld and then grind it into shape. But anyway, this is coming along pretty good. So the next video, I believe, is going to be me starting to tack weld pieces together and also do some patches. So before I can put this green structural member in permanently, I need to cut out these areas and patch them. I wanted to keep this at least for the fitment here so that I could line these holes up, and so that worked out well. But I need to put a patch over all these areas where it's open, and then obviously a big patch here. But mainly this area, and then clean it up on the inside. You know, grind off any rust or anything on the inside and then treat it, and then I can put this structural piece in place more permanently. And then once I have that, then I can weld all this in, and then I can get to this quarter panel and make sure that that's all going to fit correctly and I can weld it in place. But overall, I'm happy with the way it's coming out. After that, I will then move on to the rocker panels. But it's going to be at least one more video on this back section, maybe two. We'll see how much time it takes. But anyway, that's the Land Cruiser, making good progress. For the Model T, in my last build video, you would have seen that I stripped down the motor. I pulled it apart. And so since then, I've been working on a lot of the parts to it. So you can see here I've got stuff soaking in evapor rust. It's actually the head. So this side has already soaked, and then I flipped it over, and now I'm soaking the other side. It works pretty good. I'm definitely still going to have to clean the carbon and stuff off. My hope is that it's going to get some of this stuff out of the water chambers, but I don't know how much it's actually working for that. But anyway, I've had it sitting here for a few days. It does work well. I like the evapor rust. I've also been using the tumbler. I've been putting a lot of the hardware from the Model T in here to help clean it up. So that's working well. You can see here, you know, I've got some of the parts. I've got the horn taken apart and I've painted it, painting the oil pan on the hog's head. And you can see, you know, this hardware has already gone through the tumbler. It comes out pretty good. This stuff went through the tumbler, but not long enough. I need to do it a little bit longer. you can see I've got some of the parts over here that I've already painted. You know, the crank handle. This is the cover for that hogshead. And someone mentioned this, and yeah, that's a SureFeed oiling system that somebody put on there. It's like an aftermarket system. But anyway, so those parts are coming along nicely. I do plan on, I think I've mentioned this already, but I do plan on, while the engine is out, painting the frame and the front end, and probably painting the firewall black. At the very least, I'll clear coat it, but I might paint it black. I'm still kind of on the fence on that. But the next video for the Model T is going to be starting to actually work on the engine. So I've already tested one. I'm going to go through, remove all the valves, clean up the valve seats, clean up the valves, and hopefully they're going to be in good enough shape that I don't have to actually take it to a machine shop, because to do that I have to pull the crank off of it and things like that. But so I'm going to go through and clean up all the valves, which I've done this one here, and it came out pretty good. I think it should seal fine. And then I'm also going to clean the carbon off of the pistons. I will most likely pull the pistons out just to make sure there are no rings stuck inside the pistons, because that's pretty common for something that's sat for this long. And also I noticed, you know, I sprayed oil in all the cylinders. Well, it's hard to see now, but in the previous video where I showed this walkover here after I just put this on the bench, it seemed to me like this cylinder had a lot of oil running out of it when the other cylinders did not. And so that makes me think that there may be a ring stuck in that piston. But so the plan is I'll take these rocker arms off and pull the pistons out and inspect the rings, and then I'll hone out the cylinders while I've got the pistons out, and then put it back together, and hopefully there won't be rings stuck, or if they are stuck I can get them loose. But I definitely do not want to start getting into replacing the bearings. I'm not positive about these rocker arm bearings, but I know the main bearings, you can't buy the bearings. They have to be poured in place on the block and then machined. So it's extremely difficult to do. You need a specialist, and I'm sure it's very expensive. So I don't want to get into that at all. I wasn't even sure I was going to pull the pistons, but I am afraid there's going to be a stuck ring, because in a lot of engines I've taken apart, I found rings that were stuck. And I don't want to have to try to run it to try to hopefully get the ring to break loose. I would rather just clean it, and then I can hone the cylinders too. But so anyway, that's going to be the next step on the Model T, is getting this engine kind of taken a little bit farther apart and cleaned up. And then, you know, maybe that same video I'll start reassembling it. I have most of the parts that I'm going to be putting back on it already cleaned up and painted. So it's really just this section here that I've got to start working on. So that'll be the next thing for the Model T. Real quick, we'll talk about the 356. So still waiting on the windshield for the 356. Hopefully it is going to be in soon. My hope is to do 1 or 2 more videos here on the Land Cruiser, finishing up the rear section, and then move this out, bring the 356 in, hopefully by then have the windshield, do the final adjustments, start putting in some of the glass and getting the door windows and stuff all fitted to it. And then after doing a little bit of work on that, then bring this back in and finish up the rocker panels. So hopefully I get the parts for the 356 and I can do that. If not, I'll just keep going on this until I do get those parts. But let's see. So that's pretty much it, I guess. That's the Model T. That's the Land Cruiser. So that's it for this week, guys. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing.